Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock, time for Sports for CLE. Thanks for joining us. Plenty of Browns to talk about as we look ahead towards the beginning of training camp, about 6 weeks away. So Dalvin Cook has in fact been released. The running back, 27 years old, won't be 28 until August, released by the Minnesota Vikings. Former Vikings general manager Rick Spielman, Massillon, Ohio native, talked about the fits he saw out there for running back Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I can definitely see the Miami Dolphins. You look at their backfield, it's pretty crowded right now with Mostert, with Wilson, with drafting A-Chain. But can you imagine Dalvin Cook going home where he grew up and playing in front of a home crowd and the dynamic playmaking ability he can bring along with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You talk about the Denver Broncos and George Payton, who was my assistant general manager, and we worked together for 20 plus years, has a history with Dalvin Cook. Do you think Sean Payton maybe envisioned him as a little bit like an Alvin Kamara in that offense, not only utilizing him in the run game, but also in the passing game? One team that I'm going to throw out there is the Cleveland Browns. And teaming up with Chubb and his relationship with Kevin Stefanski. Now imagine if Cleveland, who always had a very good 1-2 punch with Chubb and Hunt, what if it's Chubb and Dalvin Cook? I'm going to throw out there, because of the connection with Kevin Stefanski, because of his familiarity with that offense, that could Dalvin Cook be a fit with the Cleveland Browns?
And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So, G. Bush, that's a guy that knows Kevin Stefanski. He knows Dalvin Cook. You interested in Cook?
Man, I just like the aggressiveness in general. I'm an aggressive guy, man. I like to have all of the pieces and parts available to me. And I think one of the best things about talking about the Cleveland Browns at this point is they have signaled that they're going all in. And when you signal that you're going all in and you really want to win at the highest level, one of the great things about that is you're now getting mentioned in different players that come available. And it's just one of those things. It's like, buying a new house. If you buy a new house, that means you're invested in the area that you're going to stay in. And that means, you had to come up with a down payment. You had to have pretty good credit. But there's no sense in getting this house and building it from the ground up and having a really expensive house, but you're not willing to go get any good furniture to throw in there. Like at the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns they got $250 million in a house, the foundation, which is Deshaun Watson. So if you are all in, and I'm looking to save myself, I'm looking to get an extension, because at the end of the day, if Kevin Stefanski comes out here and they play well and the offense looks great, I think Kevin Stefanski is going to be up for an extension. And, I joked about this. I said, can you imagine if Kevin Stefanski is a coach that makes it to 10 years with one organization? Now, people say, now, listen, you're jumping the gun. But at the end of the day, I can't think of too many people that got to the second contract with the Cleveland Browns. And Kevin Stefanski is at a point right now where if everything does go correctly, you're going to have an opportunity to possibly be a guy that hits that. Now, when you talk about Dalvin Cook and they had a 1-2 punch with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, no disrespect to Kareem Hunt, but Dalvin Cook is a little bit on a different level. He's a home run hitter. He's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run away from people. And for the right price, I think we've been talking about DeAndre Hopkins. I'm almost, Rick Spielman sold me on it. He did a great job of selling me on another running back. I know this is a passing league, but can you imagine a Dalvin Cook and a Nick Chubb fresh, rotating in and out with some of the weapons and the way Deshaun Watson throwing the football? The Browns would be a nightmare. They'd be a nightmare to handle.
Yep, and he's only 27, and again, it's going to be one of those situations. Now, he's a free agent. He's going to be looking for a place he can put up numbers, that he can get a big final contract of his career as a running back. All right, DeAndre Hopkins, you mentioned him. He's set to visit with the Patriots next week, sources say. That's after his Titans visit on Sunday. Free agent market for him is heating up. Albert Breer tweets this out. Browns are another team that's been connected to Hopkins because of his relationship with Deshaun Watson. We know that. As it stands right now, though, not likely. And the reason I would say that is he's likely pricing himself out of the Browns market. All right, G. Bush, I'm asking you this. You can only get one. We only got room to sign one. You going Hopkins, you going Dalvin Cook.
Ooh, man, I didn't expect this right here. Now, look, this is surprising. I'm very surprised by this, what I'm going to say. I look at it from a standpoint, who do I believe from an age standpoint has more to give? I'll say Dalvin Cook. From a standpoint of, which one would be an impact that you can do a lot of different things with? I would say Dalvin Cook because you can use both of those at the same time. Do I think that DeAndre Hopkins would be a good fit at receiver? I sure do. However, if I look and say who has more explosiveness, who has a little bit more left in the tank, who has more familiarity with the system or whatever the case may be, who can give you a unique advantage when you can still have a guy throwing the ball a lot out of the backfield, catching the ball, and complimenting another running back like Nick Chubb, who's powerful, I would say Dalvin Cook. If you asked me today, what would be one of the best ways for the Cleveland Browns to truly, I guess, maximize what they want to be? I'm surprised at myself I'm saying this. It's very close, but I might take Dalvin Cook. I really might. I really might. I look at the red zone. I look at the pass catching on third down. I look at the explosiveness. And I also look at the fact that, DeAndre Hopkins looks like he wants the most money possible, right? You got a lot of different receivers, pieces and parts. And trust me, we'll get into this later on, but from what I'm seeing in the offseason, some of these guys are showing up. People are raving about Tillman. People are raving about Elijah Moore. Marquise Goodwin has flashed early. DPJ, people were talking about he hasn't dropped any balls, anything. The ball's not hitting the ground in OTAs right now. So everybody's stock up is a little bit. I would lean towards Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you just because of the explosiveness of it. Either way, Andrew Berry kicking the tires on anybody that he can to potentially make this offense more explosive. Along those lines, the Browns and Harrison Bryant have agreed to terms on a new contract. It's a renegotiation there. One-year deal, $1.75 million guaranteed, worth up to $4 million. Previous deal was $2.7 non-guaranteed. Bryant still hit the open market in the offseason. Jordan Elliott also has agreed to a new deal. Base salary taken down to the league minimum. Got a signing bonus of $490,000. Some incentives based on how many games he plays. Can be up to a maximum of $200,000 in his deal. The base salary and signing bonus fully guaranteed, which means he went from nothing guaranteed to 1.5 guaranteed. And when you look at it all, what it means, and this is from Jack Duffin, really good with the salary cap. The Browns are now 16.889 and some change under the salary cap. Bryant's deal 1.75, Elliott's 1.7. It's important to remember, just because they have $16 million in cap space doesn't mean they're going to spend $16 million. They have to roll over some of that cap space to next year because they're already over the cap for next year. But they do have some room and some money to move, and you can be sure, we know if Andrew Berry is connected to these guys, he's talking.
Yeah, and look at the number. The number is, remember, Odell Beckham Jr. got $15 million guaranteed. At the last second, and I'll credit Jason Lloyd for saying that. He was on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He said, listen, I'm for it if they're for it. He said, at the end of the day, when you're looking at a situation, whether or not they're going to bring in DeAndre Hopkins or anybody else, if Deshaun Watson wants DeAndre Hopkins and DeAndre Hopkins wants to be here, they'll get it done, right? Like, if Deshaun Watson is really a proponent of, I want DeAndre Hopkins, I feel this is going to do a lot for our team. Our offense will run better. I'm comfortable with him. He goes to, he don't even got to go to ownership. I mean, he can go to Stefanski. He can go to Van Pelt. They'll get the message. He go to Jimmy or D or Stefanski and say, this is what I would like to get. And then they'll reach out to DeAndre Hopkins because the ball is in his court. it's up to him if he wants to come here and be play in Cleveland. Because, one thing that we can't do, he hasn't done much talking. And DeAndre Hopkins has never been a very vocal person in the media anyway. So we can't just jump to the conclusion thinking that DeAndre Hopkins, wants to be a Cleveland Brown. He wants to play in Cleveland. He wants to come to a traditional cold weather city where he's played in warm cities. We can't say that, we don't know what his family situation is. We don't know how much money he really wants, right? And we don't know whether or not he's at the point of his career where he's putting winning over money. Sometimes people can, and I'm not saying I don't know his finances, but sometimes, when you're trying to live, you do things with, your money, you help a lot of people out. Maybe you have some business ventures that, you broke even on or lost a little money on. And yeah, you're not broke by any stretch of imagination, but obviously you would like that little nest egg. You would like that last big payday. If he can get in one big payday and he figures like, yo, I could just put this away, you know what I'm saying? 16 million, 15 million, whatever the case may be. If I can get that from a team that is middle of the road, that really, they may not be the hottest contender, but, we'll be competitive this year. And I'm going to have a chance to be a number one option. Both of those teams, the Patriots, as well as the Tennessee Titans, he would by far be the number one option. So he still may want touches and targets and incentives and stuff like that. But I will say, a lot of people saying it's not likely at this point. I think Mary Kay reported on that. We have reporting there. We just mentioned that, says it's a little less likely at this point. But guess what? All it takes is one person to get on the phone and say, look, we'll throw a couple extra million on it. Or Deshaun Watson, because at one point in time, I like to, jog people's memories. Deshaun Watson wasn't coming here either. And the Browns kept going and kept being persistent, and look what happened. So anything can happen. I think the longer it goes without him having a team, the better it looks for the Browns.
I would agree, and I would say this. If Deshaun Watson wants him, you almost have to go out and get him. You are investing $230 million in this man to play quarterback. You've given up 3 first-round picks for him. If he says, this guy's going to make me better, you really have to do everything you can to bring him in, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. And here's the thing. This is the little smoke and mirrors, too. Like, if you got Deshaun Watson, and obviously you have a relationship with somebody. It's just like we've all had friends before. We may have worked with them. They're our buddies or whatever. But sometimes, man, you go to a new job. Your job is great. The office setting is good. You get along with your coworkers, but you got a friend who needs a job, right? So he tap you, hey, what is it looking like over there? And then you say, yeah, hey, put that word in for me, man. And you looking around like, all right, well, how much you looking for? And he throw out a crazy number, and you like, whoa, you didn't make that at your other job. And we know how you was at the other job. You had a lot of long lunch breaks, bro. I don't know if I want to put my name on the line for that. So what is Deshaun Watson going to say when they ask him, what do you think about DeAndre Hopkins? You can't say he's garbage. You can't say, I like him, but I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think we're good enough. We don't need him. So he just says, hey, he might be playing the coy role. Like, hey, look, listen, I can only make the phone call. It's up to, AB and Coach Stefanski to make that call. Because he might honestly like what he got. He may, for all we know, he might think DeAndre Hopkins don't have nothing left in the tank. And we would never know that any different.
And he's doing exactly what he should do. Publicly, he should be saying, hey, that's Andrew Berry's job. That's Kevin Stefanski's job. I'll make the phone call if you want me to. Deshaun Watson is saying exactly the right thing. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll also listen to how perception's starting to change a little bit about Deshaun Watson and how good he's looking. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, guys. Who in our running back room is the go-to player for 3rd or 4th and 1 yard to go, or especially when we're on the opposing team's 1 yard line by the goal line? What's the call by Coach Stefanski in these critical situations? No more Kareem Hunt blasting through the line or Jacoby Brissett quarterback keepers for this year. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, I would assume it's going to be Nick Chubb, although, yeah, that's to be determined.
Yeah, it's one of the camp battles that I was talking about before. I was doing a podcast the other day on Bleacher Report, and they were talking about like some of the camp battles that could be going on, and you get a guy like, so far we've already had Nick Chubb, and we always had Kareem Hunt, so you always could take, no matter who was in there, you still had a horse that you can get a ball to and try to pound it in. Now you got a guy, a little smaller version. You got Jerome Ford. You also have a guy like Demetric Felton, who is a tweener, and there's a guy named Kelly. Kelly has been on the practice squad for a long time. I think for the last 2 or 3 years, I've liked the way he's run the ball. He's a little more of an old school guy. He reminds me of OJ Anderson. Like, he does not have really good cleats. He got arm pads and he got a strange face mask, but he always seems to fall forward for a couple extra yards. I think one of the things that you're going to look forward to this year is Jacoby Brissett was great at getting sneaks and different things like that. But let me just tell you this. On the goal line now, take a look at what you have. You talk about a guy. Now, Coach Stefanski likes to use his tight ends, but one of the things he's going to do, DeJuan Jones is going to be in on goal line. He will be in on the heavy package. He will be back there. He will have a couple of linemen. You could see him and James Hudson possibly be at tight end, and you're going to see shotgun. You guys are going to freak out a little bit, but you're going to see in shotgun, in the pistol, you're going to see Nick Chubb, and you're going to see Deshaun Watson. And one of the things you're going to see is Deshaun Watson will carry the ball a lot on the goal line. He will have the ball. It's a wrinkle that we haven't seen very much of because we haven't had traditionally, running quarterbacks where you want to put them in harm's way. But go back to the Saints game with Deshaun Watson, took a design quarterback run in for a touchdown. It's a couple short yardage. Deshaun Watson is going to be a guy that's going to they're going to use the game, his run game, the read options, some of the other different stuff, quarterback power plays where it's designed for him to just go in and the offensive line come off the football. So you're going to see a lot of that on goal line and some tackle eligible plays. I'm telling you, it's coming. Tackle eligible plays. You're going to see some of those as well. And you're going to get a little diet of Nick Chubb. Let's not act like Nick Chubb is not one of the best backs. Making people miss and getting through line of scrimmage and making people miss and possibly running you over too. So you'll start to see a little bit, a few wrinkles, but I think it'll be some stuff that'll be exciting to some people because we haven't seen these formations from the Browns.
Yeah, and it will be interesting because Watson can threaten the perimeter as well, running the football.
Yep.
All right. It's interesting. People are starting to talk Deshaun Watson up a little bit as mandatory minicamp has gotten going, and they've seen ball's not hitting the turf very much in Berea, and the arm looks sharp, and Deshaun Watson's looking pretty good. Take a listen to Jason McCourty, NFL Network's Good Morning Football, about Deshaun Watson.
I look at him now coming back, and you talked about 2020. Oh, well, that's 2020. But I look at the surrounding cast around him on offense. And you talked about Amari Cooper. They brought in Elijah Moore, hoping that he can take off coming from the Jets on that side. But then also on the offensive line, whether it's Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, 2 Pro Bowlers last year. Jack Conklin was an All-Pro with the Tennessee Titans. Nick Chubb is there. And to be able to hand the ball off to a running back and let him just do his thing makes things incredibly easy on a quarterback. And so for Deshaun Watson, you come back last year, you knocked the rust off, and now you come back, you have an entire offseason, not only to improve your skill set, but now to get to know the guys around you. Think about what this locker room had to be like last year. Deshaun Watson joins your team all offseason. We're not talking about the Browns this year, right now in the offseason. All we talked about was the Browns last offseason. So for the players, you had Jacoby Brissett there, the awkwardness, all right, now Deshaun's back. Well, Jacoby's been leading us the whole time. There's been no question marks this offseason. Deshaun Deshaun's the guy. He's improving each and every day. We know him now. We're not answering questions about him after every practice. Now we can focus on football, and I think the Browns are a team that once the games start, we're saying, all right, we're not talking about him now. We'll be talking about him in September.
And G. Bush, that's good. You know, the last couple of off seasons have been crazy with COVID and the whole Deshaun and all the legal problems. So it's probably good that that nobody's talking about the Browns right now.
Yeah, you see it. I got to take my glasses off. You know, see, we talked about these lists. We talked about them all off season. We've talked about how Deshaun Watson, they got the Browns 23rd, Deshaun Watson, sometimes even mid to late 20s in terms of quarterback play. And I think people need to realize something. I mean, he didn't play in like a whole 2 years. He didn't even practice. Like, he was just out there. And then how fast and how crazy it is to come in the middle of a season at a position like quarterback where it's mental. You're thinking about reading where my guy is at, no timing with the receivers, and you're coming in when everybody in the NFL is in playoff push mode. That means they all got all the butterflies, the jitters are out, they've made multiple adjustments. Some of them had a bye week. So these guys are in full midseason form, and you're just coming back and you haven't even played in preseason. So obviously he was not going to play very well, and I think we did him a disservice, including myself, by telling people, drinking a Kool-Aid, saying that he going to come back and be 7-0. You put all this expectation on him. Now the backlash comes, and they're like, oh, well, he's not even good no more. I'm sorry, sir. You've greatly foretold the demise of Deshaun Watson. And when you start to see this, how the industry works, I was laughing and joking. Tyvis Powell texted us. I was on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He said, G. Bush, he's looking like Tom Brady out there. I said, what? What? I come back. Mary Kay says, you know what? This is one of the best performances I've seen in camp from a quarterback in a Brown. I say, dang. Dale Ryder comes back. He said, man, I have not seen a football touch the ground. It hasn't. And then Jason Lloyd said, I can't call him Brady, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he might look like Dan Marino today. Now, when all these people start, and then that trickles out, down to the national media, and by the time they get it, like, listen, the show you just saw, Good Morning Football, they said we got to get out in front of this thing. We got to get it on the front. We need to be the first to the party. Don't be late for your own party. They've got it. And what they're starting to see is, hold on, wait a minute. If Deshaun Watson is anywhere close to what he was before, the Cleveland Browns have a roster where they can compete at a high level. They got ball players. They got Chubb, and they got Myles Garrett, and they got a decent offensive line. Amari Cooper's just a solid number one. They start to see what we see a little bit. So I think you're going to see, as the season wears on and as camp wears on, and they start looking better and better and better, you're going to start to see people come back around and say, hold on, let's reevaluate the Cleveland Browns, because they might have something going on special this year.
Yep, the joint practices. Keep an ear out for what you hear from joint practices, because that'll tell you quite a bit. All right, 3 standouts from Browns minicamp. This is from Dog Pound Daily. Number 3, depth, and more depth at wide receiver. Number 2, the Browns safeties look much different. And number 1, it's a recurring theme, Deshaun Watson, confident and ready to win. And, he just even sounds more comfortable. But, the wide receiver depth and the safeties, those were 2 areas that were, they needed upgraded. And points to Andrew Berry, because he went up and upgraded them pretty substantially in addition to that D-line.
Yeah, I'll go in opposite order. I think one of the things that the safeties have not gotten that much credit for what they've done in that back end. Juan Thornhill has come in with a winning attitude. He's come in with understanding how Andy Reid, understanding how Patrick Mahomes playing in AFC Championship games and Super Bowls. He brings a certain level of, hey guys, I've been here before. If y'all trying to get to where we want to go, this is the way we got to go about doing it. McLeod is, I think, a really sneaky signing. He's a really sneaky signing because he's going to be a guy. He's a little long in the tooth, but at the end of the day, he knows what Jim Schwartz wants to run, and he has a process. Like, he knows what it is. And one of the things that I really like with this new safety room, and you can include Grant Delpit, who I think is probably the most talented back there, played well in the second part of the season, is they're not going to have all those missed assignments. Ronnie Harrison, undisciplined play, always seemed to get a pass interference, late hit. If the interception was in his hands, he's dropping it, face mask penalties, and John Johnson, for better or worse, you came in and you were one of the highest paid safeties in the league, and you didn't look like you had confidence. The secondary didn't have confidence in you getting them lined up correctly. They just didn't. Denzel Ward and Newsome and all those other guys, they didn't have any confidence. It was times where we watched the Cleveland Browns and you would gasp like, oh my goodness, are they going to get lined up? Because you know how they used to do. They'd be back there confused and looking at each other and where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? It was my guy. Is this your guy? I'm like, man, you guys are scaring me, man. And then, so that looks like that's squared up. And I love the fact that it's depth in a receiver. And I don't want to get nobody in trouble. I don't want to just say this. First of all, I get this out of the way. I like what Donovan Peoples-Jones has done for his career. He's a 6th-round pick. He's a guy who went to Michigan, highly touted, was a guy who has made himself a very solid pro in this league. However, sometimes as the Cleveland Browns organization and fan base, we tend to overestimate the worth or what the prowess is of the guys that are on our roster. And I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm hearing this stuff like if they get DeAndre Hopkins, Donovan is going to ask for a trade. I say he's not in no position to ask for no trade. Hey, man, I ain't been a starter at 92.3 The Fan, but I ain't asked for no trade. I ain't starting. But at the end of the day, you take the opportunity and work with it. You work around that. So, Donovan Peoples-Jones is in a contract year, and the thing I love is good depth. I love the fact that you got guys who are all hungry. I love the way Goodwin talks. When he told the story of his sister not being able to walk and just praying every single day that she could get up and walk, knowing that she couldn't. And he talking about what's a hard day. That's a hard day. Like that man is hungry. You talk about Anthony Schwartz. Look, Anthony Schwartz is a 3rd-round pick. He knows that he got to catch the football. It's do or die this year. You talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones. This is a contract year. Amari Cooper, they already done told Amari Cooper, hey, you get $22 million this year. They ain't bringing you back. Amari Cooper, like, how you gonna tell me you didn't bring me back? I had $1,200 last year. What if he want to throw up $1,300? That's kind of hard to get rid of. I like the fact that everybody on this unit got something to prove, and they got to do it this year. And you'll be surprised when you got that pressure on you. You'll run through a brick wall because you understand, hey, time don't wait for no man.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to get a second NFL contract. Not many 6th-round picks get that. So he has had an outstanding first couple of years, but I'm with you. We need to see what we don't know what he's going to be yet, and let's see what he becomes. The other thing that in listening to the defensive players talk early in minicamp, this is a much simpler defense, which is like, thank you, Jim Schwartz.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just let me play fast. Let me go out there. I caught this on video. They were doing get-offs. They were working on their get-offs of the football. And I like the fact that you had Myles Garrett on the left end, Zadarius Smith on the right end. And for so many years, we've seen Myles Garrett. I go out to practice. He's dominating every drill. There were never no realm of possibility where Myles Garrett wasn't going to compete and win inside the defensive line. For the first time, I'm seeing him take some L's. I seen Zadarius Smith get off the ball. He said, I said, that's one. What y'all doing, the best of 3? Myles Garrett came back, got in their stance again. They getting ready. Zadarius Smith wins the entire rep. So now that small competitive things, those things that are driving you, I want Myles Garrett to say, I want him for one time to look up in the stands and look up in the statistics and say, Zadarius Smith got 4 more sacks than I do? Unacceptable. I got to get it going. Before, you never had that. There was never a realm of possibility where Myles Garrett was threatened in production and he was going to play second fiddle to anybody. For the first time, you got guys in there that are just as hungry as he is. No one is as talented as he is, but they got some guys in there that can rush the passer. And I love the fact that it's all competition with Jim Schwartz and how he's moving up front.
And the big winner in all that competition is the team, which is the bottom line and what you want, without question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then comes us.
That's right.
Hopefully it's us. We need to pay they too. I want the trickle down theory. Trickle it on down to us.
G. Bush, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Have a good one, G. Bush. As always, make sure you catch him 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, Saturdays from 8 until noon. You can also see him Monday through Friday, 11 until 1 on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Always really good stuff from G. Bush. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Film and video breakdown, Lance Reisland taking a look at why we should be excited about Deshaun Watson. Sports4CLE, I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE, and time to take a look at a film and video breakdown and analysis. Whenever we do that, we would welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Lance, Deshaun Watson sure looks like he is comfortable, confident, and getting back to the guy that he was in 2020 before that long layoff. Interesting idea that you had to take a look at some of the plays from 2022 that should get Browns fans excited about Deshaun Watson as the quarterback.
Well, yeah, right now, breaking him down from 2020 and then watching some of his highlights, especially that second half of the Washington game. This is an elite level quarterback who's a top 3 to 5 guy who's not getting a lot of notoriety right now, for whatever that reason it is. Obviously, he's got to go out and do it, but this is a guy who is so talented, and he often gets credited for his athleticism, but his ability to process information is really, really incredible. His feet, for me, are what separate him in terms of being able to extend plays and get those key third downs on runs. They can do design runs. They do a lot of different stuff with him. I'm really interested to see the combination and kind of the marriage of the Stefanski, what Stefanski likes to do and what Watson's good at. It's going to be a fantastic year in terms of getting to that next level.
Let's take a look. First one we have is him running the football. So what do you see here?
So the reason I like this cut up right here, it's not a huge play, but again, we're talking easy yards. So this is an easy 7-8 yards, and what it does is that it protects the run game. So not only does his feet get you first down, but this is a classic run play from the Browns. So in the past, if there's another quarterback in the game here, this is an automatic give to Nick Chubb. This is a pin and pull scheme, pull scheme that the Browns love. But now with Watson as your quarterback, you can not only protect it with a run-pass option, but this is just a read. So he's reading that backside end. That backside end closes. He takes the ball, and now he gets an easy 8 to 9 yards, which is going to make it a third and manageable. These are the type of things that what he can do with his speed is he can protect the run game. He can get a guy out of the box. They have to account for him. So that's only going to help. I've heard a lot about Nick Chubb maybe not getting as many carries. Nick Chubb is going to get as many carries, and they're even going to be more productive, in my opinion, than they've been in the past, because you can protect these runs, these pin and pulls, these gap schemes, these wide zones, these things the Browns like to do and Coach Stefanski likes to do. Now Watson can protect these and keep less people out of the box because of his speed.
Yeah, and went from a 2nd and 11 to a 3rd and 3. So very interesting as far as that play. The next one that we take a look at, we're going to take a look at some of that arm talent.
the next couple here. So you're going to get a play action here, obviously off their zone here, but this is just a deep comeback route to Amari Cooper. And this window, if you watch it from the all-22, these next two throws, they are tight windows that he delivers the ball. And one thing I've talked about with arm strength, especially these next two throws, is that arm strength comes a lot with play recognition. Arm strength comes with being able to process what you see. Because if you process what you see, you know where you're going with the football. And that ability to deliver an accurate football, which he can do, comes from his ability to understand what he is seeing. And all of his arm talent, everybody talks about how the velocity of the ball. Well, if you look at I'm older, but if you look like Brady or even going back to like Joe Montana, or these guys that don't have elite arms, which Watson does, but it's the timing and recognition that allows you to have the arm talent because you get the ball where it's supposed to go. So this is just off play action. This is a knowing where you're going, and this is putting your foot in the ground and throwing an 18-yard out into a small window, and he makes it look really, really easy.
Yeah, it looks effortless, and it's when you watch the ball come out of his hand, field level, it's remarkably different than anybody else that I've seen wearing a Browns uniform. This one kind of goes to what you were talking about the ability to process information.
It's going to be a 3x1. This is, for me, this is his throw of the year. So this is a 3x1, and as the film runs a couple times here, you're going to see Njoku's the second one from the top, and he's going to be in the slot. He's going to run kind of a slot fade. And what Washington does here is Washington's going to show a cover 3. So the guy who's actually lined up over Njoku, he's actually going to roll to the flat outside, and that corner that was way outside is actually going to roll to the middle of the field. So the Redskins are going to go from a cover 3 look. It's a one hi-hat safety. It's a cover 3 look, and they're going to roll to cover 2. Now, if it stays cover 3, this route is not open because that corner is going to drop, and this is going to be an easy pick. But Watson understands this. Now, where the arm talent comes in, so now he processes information. So now he's going to take this arm talent he has, and he's going to deliver a ball to Njoku on his outside shoulder, keeping him away from the safety that just rolled over there to as he was showing cover 3. So when you watch this from the all-22 and you get the whole view of this thing, it's the most impressive throw of the year. It tells you what he's capable of doing as he gets his reps. And this type of throw is what you saw all in 220. His ability to get in the pocket, he can throw off play action. So you saw the play before he can throw off play action. This is a simple 3 to 5 step drop out of the gun, puts his foot in the ground, and absolutely throws a laser to the outside shoulder, keeping it away from that defender who just rolled away. So process the information, turns that process of information into arm talent. Super impressive here. This is, for me, this is his absolute best throw of the year, without question.
Yeah, the other thing that, you mentioned processing information, something that I think we've overlooked that slows down processing information is when you're in a different system with new teammates. So that, I think that also factored into what you saw those last 6 games last year. New teammates, not used to the system. Guys had been playing for 11 weeks, and now you're thrown in your first game in 700 days.
Yeah, all the above. That's very, very well said. So not only do you have all that, but now he's in an offense. He was the offense in Houston. So what that says to me is that when you go into a scouting report and you're playing Houston in 220, you are in 2020. You are stopping the pass. So you're getting more people dropped out. You're working on pass rush. You're getting 5, 6, 7 people in pass rush. You're getting 5 or changing it up and going 5, 6, 7, 8 people in coverage. So they are planning to stop, the pass only. Now he's with the Browns. All that thing you said, he's brand new. He hasn't played. He's had all his issues. Now he's in a run type of offense, and he's in a scheme that's wide zone, a little bit more play action. He's going to be underneath center a little bit more. So that underneath center footwork is so different than the shotgun footwork. He's got an elite tailback, which they want to get going. He's got an elite offensive line. Now they've added some weapons. Now he has all offseason. So you tie all that in, and you're going to see, people have forgotten, and I've seen a lot of lists of AFC quarterbacks. If the Browns, and he is what he's going to be, which I think he's going to be, he'll be right in that conversation with those top guys, the Mahomes, Josh Allen. He'll be in that conversation. That's the talent he has. And with his feet and his ability to process and his arm talent, all the things that we're talking about, they're overlooked. This guy is spectacular on the football field. It's just a matter of getting back into it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. As as you've seen more and more from the mandatory minicamp and the way he's looked, more and more of the national people are starting to say those same things. Well, you know, he's in the top 10. He could be in the top 5. So I think they're starting to see the skill set that Deshaun Watson has kind of reemerging.
Well, yeah, so now you have, and you look at 220, I mean, he was so good in 2020, and he had not even close to the amount of talent that he has now with the Browns. And Kevin Stefanski is a fantastic play designer. If you go back to 2020 when the Browns finished 4th in the NFL, about 73% of the time they scored touchdowns in the red zone. He's a fantastic play designer. Now he has a guy who not only has the arm talent, but he can process a lot more than the quarterbacks they've had in the past. So he's a guy that you're starting to see, and that all comes from reps. You know, being off as long as he was and having all new guys and a new scheme. And I always thought he did an amazing job from throwing underneath center, because he was not underneath center barely at all his last. So he's almost 3 years being removed from being underneath center. And then he has to go through all the footwork that it takes to run the wide zone and then reset your feet and, do all those kind of things that take a lot of practice and a lot of time. And he just didn't have it. Then you got to the Washington game. You saw some of those things. And then that second half of that Washington game, you saw the talent he has. That it's going to be what he does all the time. And, I like what he said in terms of like 7-on-7. He won't miss in 7-on-7 because he can see the whole field and he can do all the things that these elite guys do, and he can do it better than most of them. So he'll be right back in the conversation. If the Browns can play good defense, if the Browns can, they got, obviously, and I'm one of those people, I don't want to hear about it, I want to see it, but they're saying and doing all the right things right now, and I'm excited for this offense because they got a lot of pieces to make Deshaun Watson successful.
Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Always really good film analysis, video breakdown, cleveland.com, as well as The Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's welcome in Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Brad, let's start out. I know you wrote an article, Things I Think I Know About the Browns. Take me through those and what you have gleaned from mandatory minicamp, if you will.
Yeah, the first one, obviously, every year, of course, we have our camp darlings, right? And it's been, Donovan Peoples-Jones a couple of years. Jakeem Grant, even last year before he got hurt, was kind of highlighting and lighting up camp a little bit. But even before camp this year, we kind of have a darling emerging as Marquise Goodwin was putting up long bombs and looking very fast for a guy in his 11th year in OTAs, and a very impressive guy, even in the interviews, a veteran who really seems to have all that speed. Like, there was all that talk about the Browns wanting to acquire McCole Hardman, but I feel like they got somebody similar speed-wise. He still seems to have it, the giddy-up, and even he's a professional receiver. He had 4 touchdowns last year in limited attempts. So, he still was productive for Seattle. So you expect him, to fall off at some point, but he still seems to be burning out there. And he did a lot of good stuff in OTAs this week as well in mandatory minicamp, a lot of highlights. So he's kind of the early camp darling, or the leader in the clubhouse, at least for me. And impressive guy as far as being a veteran, being a professional, but also having that moxie and kind of swagger to him. at his elder age for an NFL player.
The other thing is Jim Schwartz. Talk to me your impressions of Jim Schwartz.
He was incredibly candid in his interview, and I loved it, right? Like 5 down, we love our corners, we're going to rush, and, his little saying there of, we want Ferraris, not dump trucks, right? And they want guys to get upfield, be aggressive, and there's a reason he's had so much success with these defensive linemen in the past, but his interview was just so candid, and he didn't shy away from strategy or what they want to do. It's kind of like, this is who we are, you know what I mean? And this is who we're going to be. And yeah, it's pretty much a passing camp so far, right? But he still was very, very good, and I enjoyed every second of listening to him. I think he's going to make a huge difference for this defense.
Yeah, they already have a personality. You already get a sense of what this defensive personality is going to be, and you really didn't have one. What about Alex Wright? What do you think with the defensive lineman, Alex Wright, second year?
Well, I kind of mentioned it multiple times, even on your show. I think that I thought his interior reps were better last year than his outside reps. He kind of struggled in space a little bit. And they seem to be moving him in there. I mean, he's a big man, right? And even Schwartz talked about his ability to play inside, and he may have found a little bit of a role change playing on the inside, and I like that they're trying him out there and using him there, especially in, he talked about, once again, going back to Schwartz, talking about running through 8-9 guys, right, to keep them fresh. And if you're going to have 8-9 guys, you're going to need guys that can play out and in, right? And it seems like Wright may have found a home on the interior as opposed to, I don't think they'll take him away from the edge completely, but at least, they're looking at him inside there, because I thought he looked so much better in there than last year.
And then the other thing is we've heard Denzel Ward in the slot. When you look at that, what are some concerns?
The main concern is his concussion issue, right? So you're asked to play in the slot. You're going to be asked to fill in on run fits, right? And, they may not, it's kind of weird how they framed it, saying that they would rotate by game. It's a little far out to be calling that, right? How they're going to do it. And all the clips, Denzel has been in the slot. So they obviously want to get him work there. My worry is his concussions, though, right? Like, there's going to be plays where you're going to have to come up and play the run, and it's going to be more physical. Traditionally, a slot cornerback is much more physical than an outside one in the run game. And Denzel really hasn't been known for that. Now, yes, he has improved in, his knack for going low and getting his head out of the way, but enough to put him in a slot role where he's going to have to take some run responsibility and risk concussion again, which, at this point, you're kind of flirting with disaster at that point. He's had multiple ones in his career. I worry about that with him on the interior there.
Now, I know you also have addressed this in the Orange and Brown report. Why do you think Matt Ioannidis hasn't signed yet? Defensive tackle, a lot of Browns fans will recognize the name. A lot of Browns media want the Browns to go and sign Matt Ioannidis. Why do you think he hasn't signed yet?
We're past the point where timing really matters, right? Like, so we're past the point now where there was any sense of urgency of signing a deal. And now, especially with minicamp ending, you figure this next 6 weeks, it's not so much just about the money anymore for him, because he's not going to get the premium deal that maybe he wanted, because we're past that point, right? And the deal that he gets, he also has to think about the next deal, right? So where can I get enough money that is satisfactory for me, but also a role that I can excel in? So he's going to take his time and feel out his offers at this point. He's got 6 weeks till camp starts for the Browns, longer for other teams. I would look at that as kind of a soft deadline. Who even knows if he wants to be at the beginning of camp, right? He's a veteran. We'll see what he does here. But there is really no rush for him at this point to go sign a contract, as that time is long gone where a sense of urgency gets you more money in the market. He really has to wait for his to just develop at this point.
All right, before we go to break, this from ESPN's Get Up. Tim Hasselbeck, former NFL quarterback, just on the Browns and his outlook for them this season.
My burning question is, what version of Deshaun Watson are we going to see? Remember, back in 2020, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Completed 70% of his passes, nearly 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, and just 7 picks. And, then the suspension happened. And so, last year basically was nothing. I think the Browns are a team that's maybe flying under the radar because of how good Watson can be if he returns to form.
And, as we get more and more through mini camps and Deshaun Watson's been on the field, you start to hear more and more of the national people believing that, hey, Deshaun Watson, what the local folks have been saying, this guy looks like he's going to get back too close to what he was in 2020.
Yeah, people are starting to perk up a little bit with, seeing him, the highlights and everything like that. And that's okay. I would prefer them stay under the radar. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like right where they should be, I think, for this year. The less limelight, the better for a team like this. But, yeah, totally. Teams are going to take notice. But you see all the rankings, and you see, like, they're always middle of the pack or lower. And it feels like nationally, this question has kind of been out there. Like, why nationally do they not feel, or certain people feel like he can't return to that form? I don't know if it's physically, Dave, I think physically there's no question that, he has the attributes and he'll be there. I think it's a mental thing, right? Like, you look at guys like in the past, like Tiger Woods' fall from grace. It took him a long time to become a relevant golfer again, right? Like, people aren't really used to the kind of thing that, Deshaun had to go through last offseason. So where is he at mentally? Can he recover mentally, confidence-wise, and be the guy that he was once again? He surely looks like it in camp so far. Now it is, he's playing on air, and they're wearing shorts and jerseys and just helmets so far. So let's not get too excited. But from what there is to evaluate, he looks great so far. And from all accounts, he seems like a different guy at this point. So let's hope that's all true.
Yeah, and he was the first to admit he won't know if the rust is shaken off until, September, when it's full speed, normal game, regular season game action. So all signs pointing that way, but again, we'll wait and see. Brad Ward and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break. 10 best landing spots for Dalvin Cook, according to Sports Illustrated. We'll let you know if the Browns are one of them. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. This is from Sports Illustrated. 10 best landing spots for Dalvin Cook, who the Vikings released earlier today. Number 5, they say the Browns. Browns are an obvious scheme fit. Kevin Stefanski was in Minnesota when the Vikings drafted and developed Cook. Browns offense certainly patterned after some of the later year Kirk Cousins Vikings offenses. Kareem Hunt no longer on the roster. Browns could use a secondary back to take the stress off of Nick Chubb. Ravens were 6th. Bengals were 8th on that list as well. And again, Brad, it depends on the price point. The advantage, nobody pays running backs very much. I think Cook he'd certainly be a weapon that would make the offense more explosive.
He would. Here's my hang up on it, right? Is I just can't see a world where Dalvin Cook's like, I'll go take second fiddle reps or second running back reps from behind Nick Chubb, the best running back in the league. Like, that just doesn't seem like the best or smartest move for Dalvin Cook as he looks forward in his career, right? Like, I don't know. I got to think he could be a one someplace, right?
I would agree, and to that point, this is from the NFL on CBS. Most 1,100 yards rushing seasons over the last 4 years. Dalvin Cook has more than anybody. He has 4. Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry have 3 apiece. So 3 of the last 4, Chubb and Henry have been over 1,100. All 4 of the last 4, Cook has been over 1,100 yards. That's how good this guy is, and he just got released. And he's 27. He turns 28 in August, so it's not like he's on the other side of 30.
It's crazy what they're doing or what we are doing in the NFL to these running backs, right? Like a guy like that who has been nothing but productive and gets released like that. It's wild. And it's just going to continue in that fashion, right? Just because of the propensity for teams to be able to find Isaiah Pacheco's of the world, right? Like that they can fill in as a 7th-round draft pick, or UDFAs who can fit in your scheme the way you want, and you don't have to pay money to. Wherever a team can shave dollars and still get success, they're going to do so. And a lot of these times, running backs are great and they have great talents, but they're often a product of their offensive line and their offense. So, and we're just seeing this more and more. A guy like Dalvin Cook, who's been nothing but great, let go by the Vikings. And it seems like the Vikings are maybe heading towards a kind of a half rebuild, retool type thing. So we'll see what they do there.
Yeah, and again, like you said, really productive. So it'll be interesting to see. Somebody's going to get a heck of a running back. We'll see who it is. Brad Ward, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Brad.
Dave, you're the best, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, Brad Ward, make sure you check him out. Orange and Brown Report, always really insightful stuff. Also hosts the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize a role model student from somewhere across the state of Ohio. This week, we take a deeper look at the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program and just how the Partners in Ed program benefits education throughout the state of Ohio. School funding across the country is a concern. Here in Ohio, it's important to remember that the Ohio Lottery plays a vital role in education that shouldn't be overlooked or minimized.
100% of Ohio Lottery profits go to the Lottery Profits Education Fund, and that helps to fund K-12 education here in the state of Ohio. Our lottery funds make up about 12% of the entire school funding pie.
For more than 15 years, the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has put the spotlight on some of the important work that's being done throughout Ohio in our schools from kindergarten through 12th grade.
The Partners in Education program started back in 2007, and since then we've been honoring outstanding students and teachers across the state of Ohio. The Partners in Education program really ties into our mission here at the Lottery. As I've stated, it's to generate funding for K-12 education here in Ohio. But what Partners in Ed does is it takes that one step further, and we get to see what wonderful teachers we have here in the state of Ohio and awesome students and the things that they're doing both inside and outside the classroom.
The Partners in Education program recognizes both students as academic all-stars and teachers as the Teacher of the Month, who are making a difference.
Each month, we accept nominations in each of our 9 regions all across the state. This year, we've had over 600 nominations and 116 Teachers of the Month and Academic All-Stars who have been named. It is fun to see who is getting nominated and who's nominating them. Sometimes it's just a member of the community who has seen something great that a teacher has done, and they've come on to make a nomination. So it really is a great program that gets the entire community involved, really. Your school community, family, friends. You could jump on and nominate whoever you want.
The nomination process for both Teacher of the Month and Academic All-Stars can be done completely online.
To nominate, visit OhioLottery.com on a desktop or on a mobile phone. Select the About tab and click on Partners in Education. From this page, you can either select to nominate a student or a teacher. It's fast and it's free. Just fill in all the fields and click Submit. Easy. So the program runs from September to May. And then at the end of the year, we take all of the schools who've had a nomination and we put them into the drawing for the School of the Year. There is only one School of the Year winner, and that winner receives a $1,000 gift card. They get merchandise from our major and minor league sports teams here in Ohio that they can use for fundraising efforts. They also get a School of the Year trophy, and every student gets a School of the Year backpack.
Nominate a student or teacher from your school, and your school could end up as the School of the Year. If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star.
All out of time on this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.